told I'm tired of being your second choice. 'Cause I'm so damn tired of being your background noise. I'm so damn tired of being your second choice. I've bled, I've cried, I've hoped to die, but still was asked to step aside. Now I'm so damn tired of feeling. I'm so damn tired of being your background noise. Why don't you spit it out? Throw away all my doubt. I'm begging you, turn around. Say something else. Was that just a bad mistake? Or did I push you far away? Can you help me not break? Say something else. Well, maybe you were better alone. Better alone. 'Cause every time I try to be the one that you want, it's never enough. Well, I can't help but try to see where I went wrong and all the things I can't do. Stop you moving on. Just don't tell me that you'll miss me when I'm gone. Can't we just talk it out? Are you gonna own your ground? Does gravity hold you down? Or is it something else? Have I left you all too late? Is it gonna be the same? Can you look at my face and say something else? Well, maybe you were better alone. Better alone. 'Cause every time I try to be the one that you want, it's never enough. Well, I can't help but try to see where I went wrong and all the things I can't do. Stop you moving on. Just don't tell me that you'll miss me when I'm gone. I'll give you one last chance to show me your heart. We're far too deep in this to meet at the start, and we can burn all out our bridges when we drive it apart. Let me know who you are. Well, maybe you were better alone. Better alone. 'Cause every time I try to be the one that you want, it's never enough. Well, I can't help but try to see where I went wrong and all the things I can't do. Stop you moving on. Well, maybe you were better alone. Better alone. 'Cause every time I try to be the one that you want, it's never enough. Well, I can't help but try to see where I went wrong and all the things I can't do. Stop you moving on. Just don't tell me that you'll miss me when I'm gone. Just don't tell me that you'll miss me when I'm gone. On a wave through the times, flowing through, I'm lost, searching through my mind, and through all this madness, I'm left with such sadness. Am I awake? Am I awake?
Cause my mind always wondering, emotion running high is a trend that I'm following. Will I get through the night? Will I lose the fight? Cross the other side, just another restless night. I got these deep dark thoughts, they overtake my brain, reminiscing to my heart, aching all the pain. What's it gonna take for my mind to shut down? I'm a mess, paranoid, feeling lost inside myself. I'm right away. Something's not right. My dreams ain't on me, they keep me awake. No, I'm never ever escaping all my mistakes. I'm lonely. This is meant to be. I hold the keys to my heart cell, hold on my pain to keep me well. The razor's edge lifts me up just to repeat.
Once it's got you, won't let go of you. I can see the eyes that bring the dead to life. Didn't anybody tell you your life is in danger? This could be the start of a beautiful nightmare. This could be the start of a beautiful nightmare. So live and learn, there's no easy way out. Maybe 2 days.
Basically, the folk looking out there. Their desserts for the evening in the chat. Just quickly bash and turn the music all the way off. Hit the button. There we go. There I am. As all the social media links have gone out, we'll get people rocking and rolling. We'll just let folk get in first before we start, as we always do. This is the bit at the top of the show. Hello. Hope you're alright. Yes, few little bits that we need to talk about. This is always that bit before the beginning. Like back in the old days of the Twitter live stream when people were still coming in still clicking on the link. But a few bits to talk about tonight. A good mix of desserts here this evening. Strawberry cornetto feels a bit out of place though, Jamie, given how cold it's been recently. But oh well. Like I say, we'll let folk get in. Take a swig of that. Interesting. I don't know about anybody else, but the time on my laptop and the time on my phone don't match up. Oh well. Either way, sleeves up. Take a deep breath. Everything will be just fine. Guys, girls, and the gender fluid and all beyond the binary. It is Wednesday night. It is 8 PM, and welcome back once again to the BOTW What's Current stream. Apparently I'm a bit quiet, so I'm going to turn my mic up. Anthony Russell here once again to take you through all of the weird, wonderful and wacky world that is the National Ice Hockey League structure here in Great Britain. It's dearie me, sorry Sigali, throw me completely off my stride there by saying I'm a bit quiet. But yes, the weird, wonderful and wacky world of the NIHL. We focus on the National Division. That is our bread and butter, our home port as it were. But of course we take a chance to have a look through absolutely everything from across the last week in the National Ice Hockey League National Division, as well as Division 1 and Division 2 in the north and in the south. Well, big weekends, lots of stuff going on. Lots of lovely story threads to kind of keep weaving our way through for everybody. But here we are once again on a Wednesday evening. And definitely some news from here that I need to let you know about, which I'll let you know about in a minute. And I'll remind people of at the end as well. But housekeeping before we do anything else. Bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, your number one source for all things related to the National Division. And of course, where you can follow me on my weird and wonderful ice hockey journey this season with Banners on the Road. As a website, when it started, it was mostly about the Basingstoke Bison and me following my team in as much of a capacity as I possibly could do. But as the Bison have wandered into the midst of time, it is a bit quiet sound-wise. Very strange. I don't really know what to say to that, folk. What's happening here? If I do that, is that better? I'm not quite sure why it would be quiet. Can people still hear me? Because it appears that the picture's just gone. Let's do that for a sec. That's better there. Right, let's try that. Is that better? Is that a bit better now? Let's pull that down a little bit there. An echo apparently. Hopefully what I've just done has just changed that. Is that better now? Do need something from people in the chat to kind of tell me what's happening here. Let's quickly pull up the let's pull up the stream on my phone quickly. Is that a bit better now? Let's pull that down a little bit there. Now I'm very loud. An echo apparently. Hopefully there we go. I can now hear myself. Stream inception. There we go. Not quite sure what happened there, folks. Really sorry about that. Where were we? Yes. So yeah, very, very sorry. I'm not sure. I have no luck with tech. No luck with tech at all. Either way. Housekeeping, yes. So bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, the website, Banners on the Road, my series where you can follow me. So the last piece that came out last night. I was meant to be doing an interview with somebody, and unfortunately they cancelled last minute because they were unwell. So I sat there and I put out the latest Banners on the Road, which is from last Sunday's game between the Bees and the Wildcats. I'll of course talk about that in a bit more detail when we get to the National Division results from there. But did an audio version. I just struggled to write it. It wasn't a very good game, and sometimes when I struggle with games like that, I'll take them and I'll just sort of splurt the words out of my mouth instead of trying to write it. But also, I'd not done one this season, and I felt I'd earned the right to kind of do it that way as much as anything else. But you've also got this entire season as well as 12 years worth of stuff over at bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, including including the fantasticness that is the piece is 10 years old today, which is my interview with Wayne Scholes, for those of you who remember him, the man who started Red Hockey, took over Telford, and basically changed the landscape of British ice hockey. Mostly not for the good, it should be said, but that's all there. 12 years worth of stuff on the website, as well as the back catalogue of the old BOTW podcast. Our Hockey Story series, well, I promise you there is a new interview coming. Just, again, like I say, I was meant to do one on Tuesday. Person got unwell, so that's had to be pushed back. I had to shuffle one around because of other bits and pieces and making sure people are available, because I'm interviewing 2 people for it. And then I've got another one. So at the moment, I'm recording Friday and Tuesday to have 2 Hockey Stories pieces coming out before too long, as well as Dice Hockey. That's our tabletop free to download simulation game that you can play at home with bits from around your house. All of that is there, bannersonthewall.wordpress.com. Also as well, we're here live, YouTube, the wonderful place that is. All of the social media links are down in the description, including the link to our Buy Me a Coffee. So if you're so inclined and want to kind of contribute, what I do kind of comes out on YouTube and the website. It's never going behind a paywall. That's just not how I'm inclined to do these kind of things. But if you do want to chuck a couple of quid in the busking hat, the link is down there in the description. And of course, being on YouTube, you can like the video, subscribe, share it with your friends. If you're watching now, make sure to share the stream out live as we're going. Stick it out on social media. That'd be fantastic. But yes, feed the algorithm hamster. Like, subscribe, all that wonderful things. And of course, it means that we also have the chat over there. Fantastic part of our Wednesday night community here that we have at the What's Current stream is the chat. Questions, comments, thoughts, feelings, anything you want to chuck in about anything we're talking about, please do feel free. But of course, if you do, remember the golden rule here at BOTW, DBAD, don't be a dick, be respectful of other people's thoughts and feelings, and we will all have a wonderful time. So, one other bit of housekeeping that we need to get to now, which is next Wednesday, there's no stream. So we're here tonight, it's the 6th of December this evening, and we're going to run in a little bit as we usually do. We're going to go through all 5 divisions in the NIHL. No stream next week. I need to decide whether I'm going to be able to stream it on the what day I'm going to stream the repeat. It's probably going to be Friday. I will confirm over the weekend. The reason why there is no live stream next Wednesday is because Muggins here is back behind the microphone. You will be able to catch me next week for what will be the second leg. Because at the moment, if you're unaware, Fife and Guildford are meeting in the first leg of their Challenge Cup quarter-final in the Elite League, and the second leg will be live on Guildford Flames TV with play-by-play by this guy. So I'm back for the Guildford Flames this coming Wednesday, so a week tonight at the Spectrum. So there will be no What's Current stream next Wednesday. My hope is that you might decide to buy the stream and join in and come listen to me talk about hockey for a couple of hours. The other thing is, if I can get it to work, my plan is to try and have something to upload for that Wednesday evening for you to watch instead. If it doesn't work, it will come out on Thursday, but I've got a plan. But essentially, that's the big thing. There is no What's Current stream next Wednesday the 13th. The plan is probably going to be to do it on Friday the 15th. But I will confirm that to you. But yeah, so I will be back behind the mic. I think it hit new decibels in Slough on Sunday. It was I assume that was a horn to kind of cover the swearing, because I was stood with the Swindon Wildcats fans on Sunday in Slough, and the frustration from around me was palpable in terms of, I think people kind of thought that the Bees, having been quite soundly beaten the night before in Telford, and then being quite short-benched on the Sunday, pretty much 4D for the majority of the game. The Bees called in Ty Cathcart, but he barely touched the ice. And there was kind of a bit of a feeling of, like, we really should be putting this team away. But I think the thing Swindon kind of fell into the trap of doing is what Swindon sometimes do, which is they kind of play to their opponent rather than to their own strengths. And that made the game a lot closer than it probably should have been. Credit to the Bees, should also be said, who put in a massive, massive shift for a short bench side. They just ran out of puff, and they came up against Tomasz Malazinski, who just decided he was bored and wanted to make everything go home. Man did not want overtime. Man made sure there was no overtime. Superb performance from Malazinski. I think the only issue with that top line for Swindon was that Malazinski kind of popped up and did those kind of things, but didn't do a massive amount. The rest happened with Swindon. Had they had the whole campaign running as normal when they've been able to kind of get themselves running. Obviously now, I mean, the playoffs really have to be the goal here for Swindon, because you do think that the legs are potentially going to fail them with the fact they are playing like 37 home games in December. But I'm certainly I think the thing with Swindon, I feel like they're dark horses, and I think the issue is that they're just a bit too far off now to kind of really be in the hunt for anything more than the playoffs. And I think a lot of Swindon fans, certainly the ones I've spoken to, have kind of sort of resigned themselves to that fact. The Bees, unfortunately, now feel like they've been a bit found out. They played a line on Sunday of just didn't work for them. Massively unbalanced. They'd have been much probably better served putting someone like Aidan Doughty on the top line to clear space for Balazs and Gabai, and then kind of having a bit more of a finesse, hard work line of Vitali with Vanya Antonov and probably Adam Rossbottom. And Adam Rossbottom, poor guy, has just been snake bitten recently as well. That probably doesn't help. But tons there to kind of be stuff there for Bees fans to be excited about. Although obviously, of course, the fact that they've now, Britton Priest still injured, reportedly not too far away from being back to full fitness, which will obviously help them massively, because Priest is a very, is a more than capable netminder that we've seen at this level. But but certainly sort of up front, they've kind of been found out a little bit, and I think that's probably going to start impacting them. The Bees are kind of sort of falling back to that line of where I think a lot of us kind of expected them to be. Can they make the playoffs? 100% they can make the playoffs. Raiders look like they're all over the place. Solway are good value for money, but they're inconsistent. And Bristol, one half decent weekend doesn't make a season in that sort of sense. So there are arguably 3 teams worse than the Bees right now, so that they can hang around and still make it. Swindon need to go unbeaten to overhaul Peterborough in the cup. They did this before, though. Excuse me. Swindon did do this before, a couple of years ago, where they needed to basically run the table to make the cup cup semi-finals, and they did that. Didn't win the cup, obviously, but they did do it. So the potential is very much there for them to do it. Just having a look at some of the other bits of news, and fortunately, most of the big news has actually been on ice over the last couple of days and weeks. But obviously, there's a few bits and pieces. One of the big bits, the one other thing that we saw recently was out of NIHL Dot, which is the fact that another Division 2 player has been given it amounts to a season-ending suspension, which is obviously given the low number in Division 2, is going to be a massive problem. We've already seen one player, Scott Davies from the Chelmsford Warriors, suspended for hocking a stick over the boards, and that obviously caused a bit of a problem there. I'm just trying to find the thing from the Department of Player Safety that's on the EIHA website. There we go. So, of course, the latest batch of suspensions obviously came out. We saw a few bits and pieces there. Brad Watchorn, of course, of the Oxford City Stars, in his first game back after time away, given 5 games, 2 for fighting an unwilling combatant and 3 for third man in, effectively, which obviously hasn't gone down very well. We then had the palaver with Dylan Lawrence, who was given a 5 in a game for an illegal check to the head. Now, supplementary discipline wasn't required on that one. But the fact he's ended up with a game suspension and 5 penalty points was another big problem, because if you've not seen the video, Dylan Lawrence doesn't make contact with anybody's head on the hit, which is a bit of an issue there. Lee Hayward was given 4 games for slew footing. It looks a pretty soft slew foot, if anything, if I've ever seen it. But then there's the big one, which of course Kane Taylor of the Kingston Sharks, who we've mentioned a fair bit this season, mostly just because of the fact that the Sharks have had a very, very weird year. But 22 games for Kane Taylor, listed as 20 games for abusive officials, multiple use of profane/abusive language towards on and off ice officials. Resisting an official, refusing to leave the penalty bench and playing service, physically intimidating the referee. 2-game suspension from 27th of November for hitting plus 10 penalty point threshold. So He has gone. I mean, like I say, that's his season done. And the Sharks were not unfortunately going to trouble the playoff bits and pieces in North 2. North 2 have always run a shorter playoff format than everybody else, doing just the 4 teams instead of 8 because of the numbers there. But yeah, and the frustrating thing was talking to people in the background, and Kane Taylor is apparently relatively well regarded in terms of his skill level. Unfortunately, he has utterly lost his rag. And that's the rest of his season done, along with his teammate Chris Hogarth. Stops despite not having an official head right now, or at least not an announced one. Jamie McElroy, of course, putting out there that reportedly it is Mohamed Ashraf, member of the board, doing all of this by himself. Once again, live and in person, I would encourage the IHA and the Department of Player Safety with Wayne Scholes, and you read about some of the crazy things that were happening a decade ago in British hockey. And I didn't say how far, it's crazy to think how far we've travelled. I won't say progressed, because it doesn't feel like we have at times, but the journey British hockey has been on since that point has been crazy. Oh, excuse me. But yes, crazy times. And again, I can see there in the chat, James, but the penalties and bans need a major overhaul. Some of the bans are far too harsh. And we'll see on that one. What Charlotte put in the chat there. Do you think Swindon's home games in the back of the half of this month will give them momentum, or do the opposite and burn them out? It's an interesting one, this one. I always think back to 2016 and the Bison winning the EPL, where there was a point where they played 6 games in 10 days. Really hard to all they do. I think Swindon, if Swindon can come out of December with 65% of those points from home, let's change that. 70% of the total points. If Swindon can come out of that with 70% of the points on offer, I think they can be really happy with that. 50 should be the absolute bare minimum. Lower than that, they'll be disappointed, I think. Anyway, I think it's time to go have a look at the National Division from last weekend. We press the button, we do the whizzy thing, and there we go. We end up with last weekend's results and bits and pieces from the NHL National Division. We, of course, start with what was the most ridiculous bit of scheduling I think most of us have seen, which was somebody saying that we'll have Bristol and Solway play at 7 o'clock on a Saturday night in Bristol, and then 4 o'clock on a Sunday in Dumfries. Might just be me. That feels a little bit harsh. Either way, Saturday evening, the two teams towards the bottom of the table meeting at Cribbs Causeway, and it goes to overtime. But how about a John Dunbar? John Dunbar with the overtime winning goal for the Martin Grubb and the Solway Sharks to take the majority of the points back up the M5 and back up the M6 all the way. Actually, all things considered, it's not the worst drive in the world, because you're effectively on 2 roads for the entire thing. But yeah, not terrible. They did get home at about 2:30 in the morning, Solway, off the back of a message I got from someone. But either way, a win for Solway, much needed given the circumstances of the weekend. Hull, who maintain their really good form, 4-2 win for them over the Raiders, and we'll talk about the Raiders in a little bit. And then, of course, it was the main event of the weekend: Milton Keynes and Leeds, a 4-1 win for the Lightning at home on Saturday night. I felt that Leeds would come out with the majority of the points of the weekend. Obviously, we'll see what happens in a moment, but a huge character win for the Lightning. They, of course, did beat Leeds on home ice before, and it was other results where they kind of fell down. So despite the fact, of course, no Jordan Headley, Will Curlin, for whom there have still been questions about his net-minding ability, more in the sense of that he's very clearly a good netminder, can clearly operate at this level, but he's not a Jordan Headley. And we saw what happened last year with Bristol, that maybe he is at the good rather than great tier when it comes to netminding in the National Division. But either way, it is Curlin who backstops the Lightning against a Leeds Knights side that stutters. And then the other game from Saturday night, well, the Tigers, as we talked about, pumped the Bees 8-4 in the end. Most of those goals coming towards the end after Brad Day had been swapped out for Matty Bloor. Although it should be said, congratulations to Ollie Nags of the Bees, his first National Division goal in that 8-4 loss. But either way, another defeat for the Bees in a row. Which, of course, we head into Sunday. That 5-3 loss for the Bees at home against Swindon. The Tomasz Malazinski hat-trick proving to be the real difference maker there. Like I say, I've done a sort of a relatively in-depth piece about it. You can listen to over on bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, or it's on the YouTube page. Go once we're finished here. Go click on that. Have a listen to it. But the real big issue now that we've got for the real big issue that the Bees have got now is he says, just very, very quickly double checking the stats. If we look at the game log that's on nhlstats.wordpress.com, the Bees have now not won a game since the 11th of November. They are 6 defeats in a row, which is definitely not the sort of numbers they will want to be having to kind of deal with at the moment. And then Leeds get their revenge. It did go a bit crazy. We saw Ben Solder deciding to do his best Leroy Jenkins impression, as there was a power cut and a brawl in Leeds on Sunday. But ultimately, when it went into the trenches, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, when it goes into the trenches, the Knights have the Lightning's number, and the Knights end up with a 6-3 win. A hat-trick for Kieran Brown in that one. What a crushing surprise that Kieran Brown scores goals. But either way, a split between the Lightning and the Knights over the course of the weekend. Peterborough and Sheffield, of course, who weren't in action the previous night. The Phantoms newly retooled, of course, with the addition of Ralph Sassenis. Martin Suster's notably absent from the lineup, as Ralph Sassenis back at Peterborough, having not really sort of landed very well at Bristol. Just didn't seem to work for him. And I said when he was announced as returning that it seemed a bit of a strange thing that he'd ever left. He thrived under that structure from Slava Kulikov, and obviously paying dividends as the Phantoms get the 5-2 win over Sheffield, who, like we say, who look okay but have had an inconsistent year. The second half of that home series for the weekend, and another defeat for the Raiders against this time against the Hull Seahawks. A 3-1 win for Matty Davis's side, who really have been one of the sort of undersung, untold stories here across this season is just how good Hull have been. And they've still got that massive amount of games in hand where they're really looking like they could, maybe not title challenge, but again, they're starting to come into that discussion again, maybe more so than Swindon in terms of the playoffs. And, well, if you thought the Bees losing stretch was bad, the Raiders have not won a game since the 5th of November and have lost 7 on the bounce compared to the Bees 6. So the Raiders very much the out-of-form team in the division at the moment. And then the other game from Sunday, as we say, everybody relocated right the way back up the M5, back up the M6 to Dumfries, and well, Bristol pushed themselves up and away. A 7-4 win in regulation for the Pitbulls. They take the split of that weekend series by 3 points to 2, and a really big statement win in Dumfries for Jamie Elson and the Pitbulls. Brennan Feasey, of course, the newly minted assistant coach as well, with a hat-trick on the night there too. Just looking then at the fixtures for this upcoming weekend, which is the 9th and 10th of December. So we look at Saturday the 9th. 6:30 face-off, which is in Leeds. They take on the Telford Tigers, the meeting of the only two teams to ever win the National Division at this current point in time. Every other game then is a 7 p.m. face-off. Bristol host the Raiders towards the bottom of the table. That could be massive again for the Pitbulls after their good weekend last weekend. MK take on Sheffield, a potential banana skin for the Lightning given how inconsistent the Steel Dogs have been. Peterborough take on Hull. That could be very, very tasty in the race for third at the moment. And then Solway take on the Swindon Wildcats for the third time in Dumfries this year. Then we head to Sunday, the 10th of December. 4:30 p.m. face-off, is the first one of the day. The Sheffield Steel Dogs taking on the Swindon Wildcats at Ice Sheffield. 5 p.m. in Slough for the Bees taking on the Leeds Knights. Cracking game the last time these two sides met in October. Back in Slough. Fascinated to see how that goes again. 5:15 p.m. face-off for the Raiders. They take on the Pitbulls in the second part of that home and home. 5:30 in the world's most versatile arena. Hull versus MK. Hull hold the tiebreaker over the Lightning at the moment. Can they do it again against Tim Wallace's side? And then of course it's Telford. It's 6 p.m. It's Sunday night, and it is against the Peterborough Phantoms for them. Which means we'll then just quickly go have a scoop at the table. What we'll do is if we scroll Oh, no, I've pressed the wrong button there. That was a really good start to me. Tables. Let's press the button marked tables, Anthony. Well done. And then we'll have a quick look at the chat for everybody. We'll just quickly scoot down to the cup table. Of course, one side qualified so far, which is the MK Lightning. Nobody else mathematically is there, but then Leeds have played a massive amount of fewer games. It is going to take an awful lot for others to overhaul them, but as we know, if Swindon run the table, they could potentially get past Peterborough. Hull with 20 are pretty much looking like they are going to be into the semi-final. You think about how bad things were for Hull last year. Put themselves into the title race should something happen. Telford in 5th, 22 from 19. Swindon, of course, with games to make up. Their December is going to be hella busy before too long, as they are just about a week and a half away from coming home. 19 from 16 for the Cats in 6th place after their win on Sunday. Sheffield 18 from 19. Bees 18 from 20 sees them round out the playoff spots. Looking then into those on the outside looking in, Solway up into 9th, 14 points from 21. So the Bees have a game in hand, but it's not an insurmountable gap to overhaul for the Sharks. Pitbulls 13 from 20, of course, would still be very much in that discussion. And the Raiders, like we said, 7 games defeated in a row, 11 points from 20 games, and that home record is pretty bad. 3-7-1. That away record of just a 1 away win the entire season. 11 points from 20 for the Raiders. Things do not look like they are going well in Romford right now. So have a quick look, of course, at the chat. 28 saves from 29 shots for Curlin on Saturday night, and that's good work as well by the Lightning D to help him out on that one for sure. Definitely not a 6-3 game on Sunday. Bench Brawl turned the tide with a strange decision to put MK on a three-man PK. You have to go towards the officials on that one, but those things I find do come around. One of the things I do find very, very interesting is that MK clearly do have a lot of physicality, but people don't seem to like to talk about the fact, they're not, MK are not angels. They're definitely not angels. And I think there's sometimes I think people, Leeds, to be fair, if you're thinking of teams that like to rough it up, MK and Leeds are definitely not top of that list. But certainly I think the Ben Solder didn't do himself any favours. Like I say, a lot of us will have seen the video now. For everybody who remembers the World of Warcraft meme, it's properly Leroy Jenkins levels worth of storming in kind of thing. Like it's silly. Dogs look very average against the Phantoms. Lots of rumours at Rink about Susters as he didn't play. I'm sure there probably are. My understanding is that he's hurt, but I don't know what to say on that front. I agree with Alfie. The brawl was the turning point. Up until that, the Lightning were right in the game. And I think this is the thing, is that no side... If you've got Milton Keynes versus Leeds, if a team ends up, either they've just completely lost their heads or everything, an injury or something, between the two top sides in the division, neither side should be out of the game. GB on the 20 start Monday, a number of players unavailable this weekend. Yep, for multiple sides, of course, coaches as well, being away from it. One thing I will say, of course, is that if you are up near Dumfries, remember that you can get your tickets to games. There's even a free warm-up game that you can attend. You do have to get tickets for that. There's a free warm-up game against Korea that GB will be taking part in. And, of course, my understanding is that you can join Andy Glenn and Owen Blackstock from Solway Sharks TV for live coverage of every game across the entire tournament from the GB Under-20s at the Dumfries Ice Bowl. Should be a cracker. Make sure that you tune in if you can. Ready for 9 games in 17 days for next Saturday. Fantastic. Leeds on Saturday definitely tried getting under their skin, but Sunday it boiled over. Well, yeah, it happens. It's a tactic in hockey. We can't suddenly pretend it's some sort of magic thing to do. And also as well, if you it works. I think it's a problem. Except when Irons is reffing, MK Angels. I was chatting to somebody else about Jimmy Irons the other day. I like Jimmy Irons as a person, having met him quite a few times. But I do quite like him as a ref, it should be said. As an official, one thing I like is consistency in my officials. And I know from minute 1 to minute 60 what will 99% of the time I can know what's going to get called and what's not. And the thing with people like Jimmy Irons is that if you ask him a straight question, why did you call that? What have you seen? If you ask him politely, you'll get the answer. If you F and blind and call him every name under the sun, he'll just mug you off, like most people would if you call them a see you next Tuesday. If you ask him a genuine question as to what he's seen and just say, look, I'm trying to understand, I just would really love to understand, because from my angle, I'm sat still, I've seen this, you're moving around in the play, doing the job. Can you explain to me why you made that call? I'd be really interested to know, please, because I'd like to understand and have better knowledge. Most officials will give you a straight answer. You may not like the answer. You're not owed an answer you like. But if you're polite to people, you'll probably get an explanation as to why. And I think sometimes, like I say, you won't always like the answer, but I'll repeat the line again from Dave Cloutman. To see the game the same way, folks. We're not supposed to see the game the same way as the officials, so don't try to. And no official hates your team. That's just not how it goes on that front. A lot of MK, because, like I say, given the fact there is zero evidence to the contrary, there's no evidence that Will Hewitt has a particular issue with the MK Lightning. So he's going to call the penalties that he sees. Stop making his job easy. Like, officiating is seeing the game in a really, really unique perspective. It's rule enforcement, it's safety, and it's not done in the same way that you or I want it sat in the stands. And I'm not going to lie, there are times where I will just be like, that's a bad call, or that is soft, and I don't like it. But I'm one man from one static point seeing a situation that somebody skating at like 15, 20 miles an hour is seeing in motion, and that's really hard to do. Will Hewitt being in charge of an MK game, if he's been allowed to do it, that's because of IHUK. So if you don't like that, you need to point that way. If but I think the only message to MK is, like, if you know what you're getting, don't do the thing you know that they're not going to like. Bring in Pat Ward. Bring in Charlie Ward. That'd be much more fun. There's a name from the past. Can understand his reaction. Surprised the plexiglass wasn't melting. Thank you, John. Much obliged on that one. But yeah, it's a certain official. I always maintain that the best ref should get the biggest games, and given the fact that Stephen Matthews was in Hungary as part of this exchange with the Hungarian Federation, he's immediately gone. Mr. Irons had Swindon and the Bees on Sunday with Mr. Gibay, the Hungarian official. It was really good. Hewitt had one bad game a year or so back, so every time he officials, it's clear that there's some animosity in the air. Again, that's on you guys in MK to sort out, because trust me, I venture it probably doesn't factor very heavily into Will Hewitt's mind. Pat's the ref. Oh, he is. Oh, fair enough. Wasn't aware, Richard. So thank you for the clarification on that one. Either way, National Division all sort of put to bed. Let's go and have a chat. You know what we're going to do? Because we always work our way down the leagues. Let's go backwards. Let's go backwards for once, and let's go into Division 2. We're going to South 2 before to start for a change, because South 2 this past weekend was the land of the shutout, right? If you weren't aware, because just have a check out of those scores. 4 shutouts in 6 games played this weekend. All 3 Saturday games in South 2 ending with a shutout, which is pretty mad. Two of those shutouts, of course, happening away from home. Haringey, who've rebounded from their surprise defeat the week before against the Solent Junior Devils. They win 5-0 away at the Riverside against Chelmsford. A great way for them to bounce back. And then the Streatham Blackhawks at home, they go down by 3-0 against last year's playoff winners, the Invicta Mustangs. And then the one home shutout of the piece was at Guildford, who are still maintaining their perfect record for the season. And the Solent Junior Devils very handily put to the sword. Of course, for the Junior Devils, with the big club playing on Saturday night against Slough, it meant they didn't have no Harry Cloutman, no Christos Nekrasevics, no Jack Peacock. I don't know why that keeps chopping out on that. So yes, the Junior Devils go down by a score of 11-0 in the Spectrum on Saturday. The other shutout then coming on Sunday, the defending league champion Bristol Pitbulls with cruise to a 9-0 victory over the Lee Valley Lions, which unfortunately won't surprise many. Cardiff and Oxford, who will meet again this coming weekend, a 7-5 win for the Fire as they look to maintain their playoff aspirations over the Rising Stars. And a bad weekend for the Blackhawks, having lost at home on Saturday. They're home again on Sunday, and they get some goals. They get 3, but they lose by 8-3 to top of the table Peterborough on the high road this past Sunday. So just looking ahead to this coming weekend, then a repeat of last year's playoff final. The Invicta Mustangs and the Haringey Huskies meet in Gillingham on Saturday at 5:45. Lee Valley host Peterborough, bottom versus top there. Hopefully Peterborough will remember to abide by all parking regulations. Sunday then, which is where you will find me this coming weekend, it's time for me to finally head back to Basingstoke, having missed out on the game due to the unfortunate incidents around Adam Johnson. I haven't been back to Basingstoke for a while. The Buffalo are on a 5-game winning streak, so let's see what they can do against the Solent Junior Devil side, who literally personify inconsistency, having beaten Haringey and then got smacked about by Guildford. That's at 6:30 in Basingstoke. Streatham return home again, their third home game in the space of 2 weeks, as they take on Bristol. Guildford, that's for the following weekend, so just the 2 games there on the Sunday. But that's where you'll find me this coming Sunday, is Basingstoke versus Solent, checking back in with my friends from the Buffalo and seeing what's going on there. The Buffalo appear to kind of be making some moves. Lots of rumours in the background about who else they'll be getting in. If you think as well, they've already, all the people that they managed to convince back to Basingstoke. Tom Banner then rejoined, of course, after his release by Oxford. There's Alex Sanford, of course, who's done his bits and pieces. I can't get this to work properly. There we go. Let's just quickly scope down to the cup tables for South 2. So no teams officially qualified as of yet. In the Eastern Group in the South 2 Cup, it's Haringey from Peterborough. Peterborough do have 2 games in hand there. Invicta, Chelmsford, Streatham and Lee Valley. Mathematically Streatham and Lee Valley well already out of it. You'd think that's going to be the top 2 making their way through. The other group then, the Western Group there, much closer affair. Oxford, 7 games played, no wins in the Cup so far. Guildford 6 from 6 are therefore our top. But then it's pretty tight, all things considered, between Bristol and Basingstoke as to who will get that who will get that second semi-final spot. The ball is in Bristol's court, but if results go their way, the Buffalo could easily sneak in and steal that one. The main league table itself then looks like this, and like I said, that 8-3 win for Peterborough means that they still sit happily atop the division, having the tiebreaker over Haringey following their recent win against the Huskies. Both teams on 18 points from 11, but they're a Guildford again. 8 games played, 8 games won, 16 points. Still very much advantage Phoenix in terms of where the league standings will lie. Bristol then in 4th, 15 from 13, and Basingstoke 12 from 11 in 5th. Cardiff have 12 from 12 in 6th, and the Buffalo hold the tiebreaker over the Fire, having beaten them home and home recently. Invicta 11 from 7, Streatham and Chelmsford both on 8 points. The Blackhawks in 8th due to holding the tiebreaker over the Warriors. Solent then also on 8 points, so not out of it yet for Harry Cloutman's side down in Gosport. Then there is a bit of a drop off. Oxford on 3 points from 9. Lee Valley bottom of proceedings. They have 2 points from their 9 games played. But of course, as we know, every team in the NIHL has won at least 1 game. Then we head into North 2. All things. Oh, hang on, just seen that there. Let's just quickly pop back to pop back to that because I've seen there's a few bits there in the chat very quickly. I agree. The Hungarian officials we had in MK were very good. Yeah, they were great. They were really good in Slough on Sunday as well, Jamie, it should be said. Really, really impressed with them. I thought they did very, very well. The young linesman. Let's just do that there. Richard, how do you Morgan Parsons this time? I think, my understanding, I don't know if it's 100% confirmed, but my understanding is that Alex Sanford is going to play. I think we will see a top line of Petts, Sanford, and Wilson, and I think they're going to look to blow the Devils out of the water very quickly, very, very early, and then just try and roll the lines. If the Devils first team guys don't come, it could be a really long night for Solon, because I think the Buffalo have shown that they've got a bit of extra added offensive power, because a lot of people talk about Wilson and Petts, irrespective of whether Sanford is there or not. You know, Hallam Wilson's got 30 points in 11 games, but it's those other guys who are able to chip in and contribute in terms of scoring for the Buffalo as well this year. Cam Buckle, Scott Anders been able to put points on the board. Sam Compton's got a few points from the back end as well. And you think about how good Dan Weller-Evans has been in net for the Buffalo this year. Dan has obviously conceded goals, but a lot of them have sort of been tip-ins or deflections. He's very rarely beaten on actual kind of shots, as it were. So how should they approach them? I think it's time for the shock and awe tactic as much as anything else. Will depend on what the bench size is for the Buffalo, of course. They have a big squad to deal with the fact that obviously they don't have guys the entire time. Carl Graham's not available every week. Alex Sanford's not available every week, and so on. So, you know, they've got that necessarily big side to be able to choose from. But I think this is it's not a sit back and wait for mistakes kind of game. You want to prove a point, having lost in Gosport, full bore, foot down, do the business, and I think that's probably how they should go about doing that. Either way, North 2, and the end of the run. There is only now one undefeated team left in my memory in the NIHL, and it's not in North 2. The Telford Tigers finally lose a 13-game winning streak to start the season, snapped in the Sky Dome by the Coventry NIHL Blaze. Now the Blaze been a little bit on the outside looking in at the things at the top of North 2, but a massive statement result for the Blaze to get that win by 5-4. And obviously, given the results and everything so far, it's very, very much advantage Telford still. It's going to take a lot for anybody to overhaul them, whether it's Coventry, whether it's Sutton, who've been their biggest challenges so far, it should be said. But ultimately, it's not. It's not going to be an easy ride for anybody. But no team is perfect, and ultimately, Telford were always going to slip up at some point. We wondered whether it would be Sutton, and they beat Sutton home and away, and eventually it was that was it. It was the big one from there. Not that the Blaze weren't involved in a bit of controversy the following night. Billingham won, Coventry won. You've read that right. A 1-1 draw. The game abandoned at the end of the second period due to issues with the ice at the Forum in Billingham, meaning that the game was abandoned at 1-1. Reportedly, this is being dealt with, and both teams are getting a point, but there's been no official confirmation out loud from anybody about that, so that's not super helpful. Not ideal, but the all things considered, very, very, very bizarre. But the fact that that's sort of been allowed to stand, like I say, are we going to get an announcement from it? Probably not. Elsewhere on Sunday in North 2, goals, and more goals. Bradford losing to Sheffield by 7-10, which is a good result for the Titans to kind of keep themselves in that mid-table spot. And then, of course, Telford managed to rebound, only just though, pushed all the way by Altrincham, and the Tigers eventually get back to winning ways with a score of 9-8. Because again, what's a defending? And then they've done it again. Their second win of the season for the Kingston Sharks, a massive 8-2 win for the Sharks away in Nottingham against the Nottingham Lions too. It's been a torrid couple of weeks for the Lions, obviously, of course, walking out of their game against Billingham. There is reportedly still an investigation going on about that, and what will happen there, we don't know. However, to then end up getting smacked at home by a side that only has one win all season sends the Lions to the bottom of the North 2 table, which we'll look at in greater detail in a minute. This upcoming weekend then, just 2 games on Saturday. The Kingston Sharks look to go for their second win in a row. It might be a tough ask. A 12:30pm face-off at the Wellsworth Versatile Arena against the Coventry NIHL Blaze. And then the other game on Saturday, the Telford Tigers too look to press home their advantage against the Billingham Buccaneers side, who've made a pretty good start to their life in North 2. Although how will they fare after last weekend's absurdity of a 1-1 draw? Then on Sunday, just the 2 games then. Altrincham back to go head-to-head with Telford again. Will we get another 17 goals out of this encounter? Probably not. And then the one game at Ice Sheffield, the Titans take on the Kingston Sharks. Will the Sharks be going into that one on a winning streak? We'll find out soon enough on that one. We'll just quickly have a look at the tables in North 2. Cup table is there. 3 teams already qualified for the semi-finals. Telford, Sutton and Coventry already qualified. It's just a matter, of course, as we know, as to who will take up that 4th spot. The only teams really in the running, Billingham, Sheffield and Altrincham are the sides probably with the opportunity to get closest. Bradford will officially be mathematically eliminated should Billingham pick up a point in the next little while, or when their next cup game comes around. When we look at the full league table itself, as we said, there's the 1. The O has gone. Telford, though, remain top of the table. Level on points with the Sutton Sting, but with 2 games in hand and the tiebreaker given their record against the Sting over recent weeks. But that win for Coventry, and that extra point that they've got themselves somehow, has pulls them within distance, certainly of Sutton. 25 from 17 for the Blaze in 3rd. It's not done yet, and if they can get some more results over the Tigers and the Sting, could be big things at the Sky Dome. Billingham then in 4th place as a drop down there, 17 points from 16. Sheffield 14 from 15. Altrincham 14 from 15 as well. Bradford 11 from 15 in 7th place, and then quite a drop down to those 2 sides. And the Kingston Sharks are off the bottom of the NIHL Division 2 North, relegating Nottingham to the foot of the table. Nottingham yet to win at home this season in 8 attempts. Kingston themselves not yet won at home. Both their wins coming on the road. There's the battle for the wooden spoon in the north heats up there. What we'll do then, let's move on quickly then to South 1. Of course, this has been a division that has been very, very tight all season long. Cup action was the order of the day down in Kent, and a big win for the Invicta Dynamos. 4-4 at one stage against the Oxford City Stars, but the Dynamos managed to push themselves up and away to take cup points there against the Stars. Of course, Simon Anderson gone as the coach of the Oxford City Stars. Shannon Taylor stepping into the interim tag to look after bits and pieces. We'll obviously see he becomes a name for the job. Shane Moore, of course, says that he's accepting candidates. He does have a front runner. We will see who that will be. Elsewhere on Saturday, the Slough Jets and the Solent Devils putting on a masterclass of goals. An 8-5 win, though, for the Jets. The Devils come close in this one, but ultimately that firepower from the Jets that we wondered about still managing to find a way through, even if it is the majority of just their top line. Shout out to Charlie Ottewell, though, his first senior goal for the Jets, but a hat-trick from Seb Moore helps propel Slough over Solent on Saturday night. Sunday then, well, one of these games was very lopsided, as you can see there. The MK Thunder going down at home again by a score of 10-0 against Streatham. More questions about whether the Thunder do need to consider their options as they again don't seem to be able to hold their water. But then 2 very, very tight games. It was a seesaw battle at the Riverside. Invicta 3-1 up at the end of the first period against Chelmsford. Chelmsford then go ahead and Invicta pull back, but Damon Porter, Canadian import for the Chieftains, gets the crucial overtime winning goal for Lewis Clifford's side and gets them the extra point as they look to keep pace on Streatham and Slough. And then the City Stars get themselves back in the win column. 2 goals from Travis Penny in regulation time help the City Stars, but the Buccaneers come back force overtime, force the shootout, but Danny Williams with the all-important shootout winner marks Petr Cech's return to the Ox Pens with 2 points and a win. This upcoming weekend, then, quite a full docket of fixtures in South 1. 5:15 over at the Sapphire Ice and Leisure. The return fixture, Romford take on Oxford, looking to avenge last weekend's defeat. Slough versus Invicta, a game that I saw a couple of weeks ago in Slough and was very, very interesting. If the Dynamos travel with more players, Slough could be in trouble because I think Invicta had found a way to kind of solve them there. The other game, then, a massive one in the context of South 1. Solent versus Chelmsford is 5 p.m. face-off in Gosport. Sunday, 3 games as well. Chelmsford take on Romford in the local derby. Chelmsford beaten by Romford the last time these sides met. They'll be looking for revenge there. 6 o'clock face-off at the Riverside. 5:45 in Gillingham for Invicta versus Slough, so the return of the night before. And then 6:45 at the Thunderdome. The MK Thunder in league and cup action against the Solent Devils. Which therefore we know means we're going to, what sort of side we're potentially going to see on Sunday in Basingstoke for that South 2 game. Although, given how the Thunder have not really been kind of keeping pace with the other sides, what side do we see? Do some of those Div 1 guys end up playing in the Div 2 game? We'll find that out soon enough. Let's pull up the tables then in the South. If we just have a quick scoot at the cup table, there's no other. There's the Britain Cup, which is the other cup that they're doing this year, which has only got the 5 teams in it. Invicta leading the way currently, given that Streatham have only played 1 game and Chelmsford haven't played one at all. The Southern League Cup sees Slough currently top, although Streatham still have games in hand, and as to Chelmsford, but those 3 sides have qualified for the semi-finals, and then the race is on for the 4th slot between Solent and Invicta. Solent with 2 games in hand, Romford, Oxford, and Milton Keynes out of the running for the most part there. But at the moment, you'd expect Streatham to potentially find a way to overhaul Slough, but as it stands, a Streatham-Chelmsford semi-final in the cup would be pretty tasty. The league table itself then, as we know, Slough and Streatham have been keeping pace with each other for the better part of 6 weeks, 24 from 15, but Streatham hold the tiebreaker, having beaten Slough. Chelmsford then, with that all-important win against Invicta, have 22 from 16, and then there's the drop down to the rest of the pack. 14 from 12 for the Devils, 13 from 14 for the Dynamos, 10 from 14 for the Buccaneers after that extra point they got by going to the shootout against Oxford, who now find themselves up to 8 points in 15 and starting to hang around a little bit more, but not a single win on the road for the City Stars. The MK Thunder, 2 points from 11 games, so starting to fall off the pace in South 1. And then that takes us up to North 1 to finish us off for a change, rather than doing the same thing as we always do. Not a massively full weekend of fixtures in North 1, and mostly a chunk of it, of course, because of although the M56 Cup, of course, mentioned in the stats here. But a massive weekend for Billingham. They started out the weekend with an 8-2 win over Solihull, so Billingham have had a lot of teams on their tail recently. Blackburn, Solihull, Deeside, Whitley all amongst them. But a huge statement win for Stephen Foster's side as they put the Barons thoroughly to the sword. In the M56 Cup then, goals and more goals. It's been a weekend for bizarre results. Widnes with a 10-8 win over Deeside. Fortunately for Deeside, of course, given that they're relatively decent league form, this is outside of that, and this is so the defeat not ultimately telling in too many ways. Blackburn with a pretty solid win. They win by 8-4 over the Nottingham Lions in the league on Sunday. Solihull back to winning ways. They defeat the Hull Jets by 5-3. The bad away form for the Jets continuing so far this season. We'll talk about that, the other one last, but Deeside back to winning ways as they get back to league action, and another win in the league for Deeside, who are starting to kind of ask questions of the teams above them. They've been on such a good run of form recently. A 4-2 win over Widnes in Widnes is pretty solid, and then you can see it there. What a statement win from the Billingham Stars in the Forum away from the Forum at Hillheads against Whitley, and an 8-1 win for the Stars. 16 goals in 2 games this weekend, 3 goals conceded. people wondering who would take up the mantle from the Solway Sharks in North 1, the answer appears to be very, very firmly it is Billingham who are going to be leading the way. Upcoming fixtures for this weekend then, only the 2 games on Saturday, 5:30 at the World's Most Versatile Arena, the Hull Jets and the Nottingham Lions. The Lions looking to try and get back to winning ways after their recent bad run of results. And then on Merseyside, Widnes take on Whitley. That's a 7 p.m. game with Widnes with a split weekend last weekend and Whitley getting absolutely shellacked by Billingham. How will Tony Hand and his side respond to that bad result? A couple of games then on Sunday. Billingham versus Blackburn should prove quality entertainment. The Hawks have been a very interesting side to watch this year. They seem to be able to eke out results and they have been keeping Billingham within grasp, but the Stars have shown that they have the quality to push themselves well above everybody else. Will it be another big result at the Forum? Then on Sunday, Deeside taking on the Sheffield Scimitars. 7:20 p.m. face-off at the NIC for the Nottingham Lions and the Widnes Wild, which should be free to watch on YouTube. And then Whitley are back at home looking to recover. They take on Solihull in what could be a massive, massive game in the context of who could catch Billingham. That's a 5 p.m. face-off in Whitley Bay. As we then pull up the tables, in terms of the cup, as you can see there, 3 sides already qualified. Billingham, Solihull and Blackburn are already qualified for the semi-finals of the cup. And the big question will be, who's it going to be after them? Because Deeside on 16 points, Whitley on 15 and Hull on 14 are pretty much all still within a shout here. But Whitley, one of the big names of hockey, the team that ran Solway the closest for the longest, could be out of the cup semi-finals by the time that before too long. Could Deeside and their recent good results push them into a semi-final 2-legged affair with either the Billingham Stars or the Solihull Barons? The M56 Cup, as we'll just talk about it, as it is now kicked off. Widnes with that 1 win. Widnes, Blackburn and Deeside. Blackburn, of course, still in the Northern League, that league up in Scotland, and their recent good result up there sees Blackburn in a decent position in the Northern League as well. But yeah, so just the 3 teams in that one. We will see how that one plays out. You do wonder whether Blackburn are going to be able to keep pace, but some get at least one game in that league, in that cup, not due to be played until March, as you can see there. The league table itself then, Billingham sit alone atop. 28 points from 17 games gives them a 4-point cushion over the Solihull Barons behind them in second place with 24 from 17. Blackburn, though, 22 from 16, still within touching distance. Whitley in fourth, 21 from 18. Deeside, 20 from 16. As we head towards the bottom end of the table, they have 15 from 16 for the Jets, whose form wavered as of late. Widnes 8 from 15, Sheffield 7 from 15, and the Nottingham Lions bottom 6 from 16. Both Nottingham Lions sides bottom of their respective tables in North 1 and North 2. There we go then, folks. All the way through, every single game has been talked about from across all 5 divisions of the NIHL. I take a swig of water to try and breathe again. But there we are. Plenty of exciting things going on. Looked at all the cups as well for the first time as we're starting to edge towards that. Although we might leave the M56 Cup alone just for a little while, just because that's obviously going to go on for quite some time. As it picks up, we'll find a way to do it. What we will do very quickly is just to have a look at it. Big result last weekend in the SNL. Between Kirkcaldy and Aberdeen, the 2 top-end sides there, as those 2 clashed last weekend. The Kestrels with a 5-2 win over Aberdeen, which meant that the Kestrels now sort of solely occupy top of the table there in the SNL, but Aberdeen with 2 games in hand and 2 points behind, and then you've got Edinburgh as well lurking there, 14 from 9. So the Caps have got a lot of games in hand to try and pull themselves up the table there. Just the one that obviously, as you can see there, the North Ayrshire Wild struggling at the bottom, but some pretty close, all things considered. In fact, there's only 8 points between first and seventh in that league, though just the 1 win so far for air. If we just quickly click on the Northern League, so of course that involves Blackburn. Just click the buttons. If we could please do the things. There we go. There's the Northern League, and as you can see, Blackburn hanging around there. Just they're sitting in third because of just because of record against the other teams there, and the fact that they've got their. I was going to say, what's happened there then? So 2 wins there. So they should actually be. Should they not be above them? I don't think that table's been worked out properly. Do you? Bit of a strange one. Either way, Kilmarnock have lost all their games so far, and have been very, very interesting. Kilmarnock, of course, we have Callum Boyd on a 2-way just because of work commitments, but the Caps are rolling along there. If we just have a quick look at we'll just quickly pull up the scores when it comes to getting their second win of the season. Either way, then. Even managed to make it into the SNL this week. What fun. No Hamilton as well for the Thunder as well this weekend. They're both with the GB under-20s, which makes sense there. End of the second. 5-1 Guildford 3. And 3-3 in Glasgow between the Clan and the Cardiff Devils. Now, it'll be interesting to see, of course, like I say, if I've got to commentate on a second leg next week. Do want to keep tabs on what's happening between the Flyers and the Flames. Like I say, interested to see Fife in action with my own eyes. Obviously, I've had the opportunity to see Guildford. There's been a few roster changes to the Flames since I was last in Guildford, but this will be I'm excited to get the opportunity to call what is effectively a knockout game. And hockey being hockey, 2 goals is not enough. So I'm looking forward to seeing what will happen. How much will Shane Owen stand on his head? The Flyers, of course, finalists last year, losing out to Belfast in the end, but the fascinated to see what will be on offer next week when I get back behind the microphone. So that's your reminder again before we go away. There is no What's Current stream next Wednesday, the 13th. We'll do it on Friday, the 15th, most likely, but I will confirm that during the week. Cats' worst result in 20 years on Monday night in Arizona. Sat Kuznetsov as well, but yeah, that was an interesting one. But Spencer Carberry wanting a reaction out of Kuznetsov, who's been a bit lackadaisical this season. Either way, the NHL is done. We've even looked into Scotland and the SNL. Questions, comments, thoughts, feelings, anything else, chuck it into the chat now. Free reign. We open the doors now that we've covered all the other bits and pieces. Any other leagues you want to talk about? Games you want to talk about? Any other news we want to talk about? Chuck it all in. Let's just open up the doors and kind of see what comes out of it. I do know that I've just seen the news, of course, that tomorrow Patrick Kane will make his debut for the Detroit Red Wings, having signed on. Obviously, had that extended rehab period in the off-season. Didn't sign on after finishing off with the New York Rangers, and made a point of resting up and healing up, and he's now joined Detroit, so we shall see what happens there. Oh, excuse me. Definitely needed to do that, though. Let's just definitely a goal. Oh dear. Either way, lots of fun stuff there. More controversy, just what everybody wants in life. Let's just double check and see if there's any other bits and pieces. No. So the puck has gone down for the third period in Fife. So that will keep us all entertained for a little while. No other big news immediately that I can see. Nothing else massive that I can see at the moment. But yes, so either way, like I say, thoughts, feelings, questions, comments. Who's going to be the next Oxford coach? Who's going to who's going to be the next big player on the move? There's obviously rumours flying around, but that's not what we kind of go in for here for the most part. Try to report on what we can confirm. But yeah, Christmas nearly coming as well. I'll let you kind of know what the plan is. So like I said, next week is a bit wonky because I'm in Guildford doing commentary. We will go on Wednesday the 20th. Unconfirmed for the 27th at the moment. Now the plan is to go. The plan at the moment is to stream on Wednesday the 27th, so the day after Boxing Day. But it might be short, and it might be just a kind of a last one before the new year, last day of term vibes kind of thing, where we'll just kind of have a bit of a chat and a muck around. Maybe what I could do is bring in someone to kind of do it with me. We'll have a bit of a sort of a chat and an end of 2023, because 2023 has been a slog of a year. Particularly down here for anybody connected to basics, it's been tough. We had a tough summer. We've had a tough start to the season here in Britain. So maybe what we could do, maybe that 27th one, rather than going through all the fixtures and the results, maybe what we'll do is we'll have a bit of a loose look at 2023, kind of like the Jules Holland hootenanny of the What's Current stream, and we'll just have a sit back and a bit of a laugh and a bit of a chuckle about everything that's happened in 2023, and do it that way. That might be the best way of doing it. So like I said, nothing on the 13th, stream on the 15th on the Friday. We'll then go on the 20th on the Wednesday night as normal, and then 27th we'll just have a bit of a muck around. How does that sound? Do we like the sound of that? I think that sounds pretty reasonable, all things considered. Oh, should have had more of that actually. Right, not tons happening, not tons more news to cover. So I will say, last call for bits for anything anybody wants to discuss before we head out. I think the only other thing kind of worth mentioning, of course, is that the IHF mandating neck protection is, like I said, something I think was coming. I am pleased to kind of see it in the main for international tournaments. Certainly the fact we'll see it in the World Juniors is good. 4 games on the 27th as well. Ooh, that's a good point actually, isn't there? Maybe, do we Soccer Saturday style it then on the 27th? Maybe we do that. That might be fun. I'll look into that one. See who I can get to join me for the fun, and we'll keep tabs on all the scores for a bit and just have a bit of a muck around more than anything else. That might be a good idea. Might try that one. Just having a quick look as to who scored those goals for Guildford. 2 for Peter Cronella and 1 for Bajkov, which seems fair. I like Peter Cronella, very interesting looking player. That might be the way to do that. Either way, I think it's probably time to end it. We will call it there. Bannersonthewall.wordpress.com, your number one source for everything related to the NIHL. Follow my journey across the season in our Banners on the Road series, and then get all of the weird, wonderful and wacky stories from the world of ice hockey in our Hockey Stories series. From the 19th century to the present day, into the World War II, behind the Iron Curtain and beyond. Players, officials, the movers and shakers of ice hockey from across the globe in our Hockey Stories series. The back catalogue of the old BOTW podcast is there to check out on the website as well, and you can download our free game, Dice Hockey, Tabletop Ice Hockey Simulator. Facebook.com/Banners on the Wall is the Facebook page. Hit the like button. I know some people like getting their news through their Facebook feed. Every piece from the website goes onto the Facebook page, as do the links every week for the What's Current stream, so you can doubly way to chuck bits and pieces out. That'd be fun. So over on Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, @BannersOTW. That is the number one place to keep tabs on my sort of rolling commentary on whatever's going on with hockey. Spewed out some thoughts about Belfast earlier today, which I kind of needed to get out of my head, but weren't worthy of a piece on the website. But that's always worth it. And of course, buymeacoffee.com/BOTW. Like I say, we're not going behind a paywall, but if you just want to chuck a couple of quid into the hat to keep the lights on and the wheels turning, it's always massively appreciated. Please do feel free to do so. And of course, we're live on YouTube. The Banners on the Road from this week is an audio version that's there on YouTube to listen to. Interviews with people like Aaron Nell, Matty Davies. Like I say, if I can figure out some timings for next week, there'll be a really special one coming next week as well. But folk from the length and breadth of British hockey is there to listen to in the YouTube channel back catalogue too. So make sure that all of those things you click all the various buttons to subscribe to. And of course, like I say, for the most part, not next week because of stuff, but we'll see you on Friday. But otherwise, for the most part, it's Wednesday nights. It's 8 p.m. It's the What's Current stream, the first, only, and the best live show covering everything from the National Ice Hockey League. Well, there we are then. Done. done. I'm looking forward to this weekend. I'm looking forward to getting back to Basingstoke. Obviously, going to be a bit tough to kind of sit there and kind of deal with some of these things. Yes, Richard, I will indeed bring the thermals. Don't you worry about that. Very much kind of I might turn up early and go try and sneak a Costa in or something like that. But either way, I will be there. And then next Wednesday night, like I say, no What's Current stream. Join me on Guildford Flames TV for the second leg of the Flyers and the Flames in the Elite League Challenge Cup. We will see you back here for a What's Current on the Friday the 15th. Be happy. And as it gets darker and darker outside, I know that's hard sometimes, but if you can't be happy, then please, wherever you are, please do, whatever you do your very best to please be safe. As my friend Scotty Watts would say, take care of yourself and somebody else. For banners on the wall.wordpress.com, this is Anthony Russell saying stay safe. And so long till next time. If you're in Basingstoke on Sunday, come say hey. Otherwise, I'll see you along the way. We'll catch you back next week for the What's